Elon Musk.
Yes.
Tesla stock fell more than 10% after it missed earnings. He lost a lot of money. I don't know how much money he lost, but it was a record. I think it was like another record amount of money that was lost. Something crazy. So Tesla stock is down. Long story short, Tesla stock was down last week. What are 3 mistakes the brand is currently making, and what can they do to improve the company to make the stock trend higher? And Tesla was one of those stocks that during the pandemic was everybody's favorite. You know, it went up crazy during the pandemic, like crazy. A lot of people made a lot of money just buying the stock. A lot of people made money on options.
Yeah.
But now it's down. Its 52-week high was $336. It's around $160 now.
Couple splits.
So what's the deal with Tesla?
The number one, and as business owners, I think we can all relate to this. You have to stop cutting prices. So if you bought a Tesla 2 years ago and it was at 45,000 and now it's being priced at 23,000 or 30,000, not only is it going to cut into your margin, but it's going to upset your customer base that bought at a higher price. So usually, even though people don't like to pay a higher price for a business, it does extend or widen your profit margins. Number 2, I think they need another visionary there, not to replace Elon, but because of SpaceX, the AI project that he's launching now, and all the other ventures he has going on. I think he's spread a little bit too thin. And I think you need he needs a Tim Cook or a Johnny Ive in his corner. Not that they don't have great leadership there, but I don't think they don't have a visionary that is akin to him that can lead a new product cycle or newer innovations there to make sure not only are the products great, but the margins actually match up to where they need to be. And 3, I think they need a new product. I posted it a couple of weeks ago about an electronic bike. They need a different product, because I think, like, to me, Tesla's like this era's version of like a Mercedes in the 1990s or 1980s. I think they need one more product in another field. And I know they have the electronic vehicle truck, but I don't think on the consumer side, people have been like incredibly excited about a drop for Tesla. I think that would help them dramatically to bring the price of the stock back up and their margins be a lot better as well.
And you took my number 3. I'll say that. But let's go back to number 1. Because the word mistake, I'm not sure if we should use it.
Okay.
Here's why. You're supposed to say, tell me more.
Tell me more. Please tell me more, Troy.
Well, Elon, he clearly stated that they're going for the higher volume play over the higher margin play, right? And so when you think about higher volume, that means that I want to put more product out in the street. Short term, they're going to lose money, right? Because they're dropping prices. But what does a country look like in 5 to 10 years when everything has to be EV and 80% of the vehicles are yours? Right? I think there's a long-term play that we're missing when we think of mistake in the short-term gains of it.
Yeah.
Because if he's trying to have a larger fleet, I'm gonna drop the prices. And so if you look at the Model 3, it's down 11%, the Model Y is down 20%. When you drop those prices, more people can buy. But there's another part that gets like it got passed over. The tax incentives for having EVs have gone down. And so if I have the same price and the tax incentives, you're actually gonna be paying more. And so if you think it in that terms, I'll lower the price because I know that the incentives are not at the same as they were before. And so it kind of offsets itself. But I think he's going for let's take over countries, because right now he's dominated the US, but now the next market is like, let's go dominate China. Right. And so if you look at the percentage of EVs in America right now, 63% of EVs are Teslas. You know what the next closest company is?
Who, Ford or GM?
GM, 7%.
Yeah.
That's domination, complete domination. So I think rather than a mistake, I think we got to look at it from a long-term lens here and say like, oh, this is it. They're just trying to have more fleet on the streets. But I think that you're right. I think that the next thing
That's a bar. Go ahead, sit again.
More fleets on the street. So I can put more product out on the street. But I think you're right. I think when you start lowering prices, you start preparing people to pay less for things. And so when I start training people to do that, I think the next thing is like now introducing to a product that is a lot less than what, the car is. And so maybe it's a bike, or maybe it's a lesser priced car, right? So when you think of cars, when I thought of this, I'm like, let's look at Toyota, right? Like the Camry is their staple car.
Yeah.
And most people buy that. It was the most popular car for years, that and the Honda Accord. But then they had the Corolla, right? Which was the cheaper base model of Toyota. And then they had their high-end luxury, which would be Lexus. And so if you start looking at it in terms of that, like it could be the bike or it could be a more affordable, even more affordable car. So I think that's why you kind of play with the prices to see what people are willing to do before you introduce a new product.
I'm gonna ask you this: does anybody ever aspire to drive a Camry or a Corolla, though?
No, no, you don't have to ask.
So,
You think I worked this hard? What do you think I have to work this hard for? To push a fucking RAV4? No,
that's true.
No, I'm not saying people aspire to it, but
yeah,
when it comes to affordability and getting A to B, if you look at the sales of the most sold cars in America, it's probably a Honda Accord or it's probably a Toyota Camry.
But the margins in those businesses are so, and I get he wants scale, but if you look at Apple, like when they had the old Macs with the colored backs, right? So like it had the orange back. The thing that made the iPod mainstream was the iPod. So I don't know what product they can create that would get that kind of scale, but they do need another product that brings them to the ecosystem that makes them want to upgrade to that. But whenever a brand has become like mainstream or not deemed as luxury, like take Coach from, I don't know, in the early 2000s was the same, perceived to be like somewhat of a luxury. Now, nowhere near close. I think if you start to play with those prices too much and make people pay less, somebody is going to have a higher price model. Or man, if Bentley or Rolls-Royce come out with an electronic version, or they put out an electronic Virgil Maybach, it may be tough for a couple of years for Elon. So I get the strategy, what he's trying to do, but I think every time the companies have tried to like get that scale based on price alone, it tears the margins up, but ultimately hurts the business, especially when you're in a recession.
Yeah, even if those companies do it, how many people can afford that level of luxury? Right? Like, so again, if
he's in China,
well, that's true. Well, there's more billionaires here. But even if he does that, right? Like, even if that does happen, then the scale model, it makes even more sense, right? Like, because if they're putting in a high-end luxury, I still have this affordability that most people can get.
So are you optimistic or pessimistic about Tesla stock?
It's a great question. I'm optimistic about it. I like it if it gets to like 107 to like 109 as a buy. I'm a long-term holder of Tesla. I am looking forward to seeing, even though they had a somewhat successful launch of SpaceX, I am excited to see when he gets like fully focused back on Tesla as like his main idea or business that he's focusing on. But I do like Tesla. It is going to slide down some, but
well, that's another thing too. It's like a lot of people think that, you know, he's stretching himself too thin because, of course, he's got Twitter, and X,
yes,
and SpaceX,
and a whole litany of kids.
Yeah, and like 12 kids. So, you know, that could potentially cause a strain on the company as well if the leader is not fully focused on the job at hand.
Yeah.
So are you optimistic
on Tesla stock?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Tesla, I mean, they've become synonymous with EVs. So I think that they have the head start in the race. Just because you have the head start doesn't mean that you always win.
Indeed.
It gives you a better chance of winning.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, when you look at the EV space, they're going to have a lot more competition in the next decade than they had in the last decade, where everybody's going to be having an electric car. Maybe even Apple. So, you know, it's going to be a lot harder because they're going to have more competition in the space. But they have done a great job of, you know, building their brand, building out infrastructure, and building trust amongst customers. So I think that that's helpful. But yeah, I think we have to see what's next for them. You know, is it a plane? Is it the railroad system? Is it, you know, more electric solar power, which they already in the solar power industry now.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how they diversify. I don't think their stock will rise as much as it did during the pandemic, though. I
Yes.
think now it's
Or
just
it'll be slower.
it's just it's a regular stock. It's still a good company, but it's not going to go up 1,000% in 2 years.
Yeah, and it may be I think we all agree here. I'm optimistic as well. But one of the things when you read the reports, it was saying that they want to go from hardware, which would be kind of like the vehicles, to becoming somewhat of a software company as well. And so maybe we're looking at, when we talk about products, we might be looking at it the wrong way. Maybe it's not a hardware, a product that they put out. It's some type of software. So I'm optimistic with it. There are some analysts who are saying that it will go up to 1,500.
I will hold my commentary. But
I will leave their names anonymous, but there's some reports that say that. So
We'll see.